Here we are out in the garden for what it is. It is Saturday, November 3rd, I think. I should know the date, but I don't. Anyway, we're going to check on the garden and see if it's growing. Okay, so spinach, nada. Slow starter there. Nothing going on at all. Got a mushroom there I think I'm going to get rid of. Celery, also nada. Swiss chard is starting. That's a Swiss chard. These little two leafy guys are Swiss chards. I'm going to pull this grass out. And this grass out. So that's good. Kale, going strong. Doing great over there. Kitty kitty, what are you doing, Zoe? Hey, you hiding? You on the prowl? The kitty's following me in the garden. Where's Susie? I heard her. There's Zoe. She's so cute. Oh, tiny girl. Not interested. Oh, there goes Susie. They're playing. They chase each other around like crazy. Pull some more grass. I bet that's grass too. So yeah, nothing on spinach. Don't really understand that. I've grown spinach very successfully before. But I'm excited. The kale is starting to get actual leaves and not just the water leaves. So that's fun. But yeah, oh, that might be a celery. That one there. But yeah, pretty quiet on the garden front for this bed. Week 2 on the second bed. The beets are doing awesome. Tons of them going on there. That's pretty cool. This is the cauliflower. Also going strong. That's great. The bok choy is off the hook. That is crazy. Relative to, like spinach. What the heck? Broccoli? Well, that might be stray beet because it looks exactly the same. But the broccoli is starting. Not as robust as the cauliflower, but plants nonetheless. Something has dug around in here a little bit. I wonder what that was. It's our first sign of anything being up in here. It's probably mice. I don't know why mice would. Anyway, who knows? But it wasn't very big. But it had to be fairly sprightly. Which almost makes me wonder if it was a cat. But we just have the one, so that's okay. The funny thing is, we got all the beets growing at that end. We don't have any beets growing at this end. Oh well, that's okay. They'll come when they want to. We've got more than we need planted. So this bed is doing awesome. I'm super happy about that. And as you can see, that was my weeding, which was super easy. The soil is doing pretty well. Here's a little grass here. Pull that. These guys are just exploding with flowers now. With their pretty pink flowers. They're happy to have that fungus stuff sprayed on them, I think. Because now they're doing lots of blooming. This guy is sprouting a ton of new growth as well. Even down here at the base. So I might actually trim off some of these ugly leaves to give more light down in areas where it isn't as healthy. There's no new fungus stuff going on. And with all this new growth, I'm super encouraged that the hydrangea is going to do better now. I've got some more eggshells to put around. I might actually put them into the, oh, there's a kitty, into the garden beds, but we'll see. Haven't seen any evidence of slugs in the gardens yet at all, which is fantastic. So, don't really need them there, but I might put them here. Oh, there she is. What are you doing, Susie Q? You got nothing to say? There it is. Susie can hardly resist having a conversation. What do you think? The kitties have gotten very comfortable prowling around the yard. We see them frequently way up by the catchment. So they use the entire area. Where you going, girl? That's not your area. They like this grass over here. We don't have a lot of grass. So I see them over here by the backyard a lot. So last weekend, I did not film any of this. But I did move a bunch of mango trees from over there. Those on the ground over there are ohia. And I think I'll leave them there. They're too big and heavy, and I don't know that I want to use them for building anything. So they may end up just being used for garden edging or something. Who knows. But I moved a bunch of mangoes from over there to over here. I cut down some more that were half dead, broken, and collected some others from the driveway. They've all been out here in the sun. What are you doing, Zoe? They've all been out here in the sun getting some, drying out a little bit. Because ultimately, we're going to do a fence across with these bad boys because they're useful. This week's agenda is, before we do the fence, I want to do the duck house. It's finally time to think about the duck house. So over here, we've got our little walkway. And I may do some reconfiguration of this walkway because it's a lot wider than it really needs to be. But this corner is where the duck house is going to be. I drew up some plans this week, so I know what I'm going to build. So yeah, now it's just time to start rooting around in here and getting it ready to put a foundation in. It's going to have cinder block post support, little single cell cinder blocks with cement to hold the posts. It's going to have concrete pavers for a floor that can be easily hosed out. Susie, yeah? She's a good companion. They both are. Get this ready to figure out like where the little cement things are going to be. Clear out some of this stuff because we don't need soil where the pavers are going to go. Level it out a little bit. And start prepping duck house site. Yeah. I'm going to use some of these mango trees to help with the duck house. I don't know about structurally, but certainly decoratively. Just because, why not? Because it's free. So, and then we've got some scrap lumber from building the cottage that I'm hoping to include in building as well, so that we can keep costs down. Because it really is just a duck house. It doesn't need to be super fancy. I want it to be cute and sturdy and reasonable for the ducks, because we have to look at it from our yard, and I want it to be good for them. Where are you going, Zoe? Ignore me entirely. Off into the grasses. That's cute, they're going together. So last weekend, one of the things I did is I went around the neighborhood and I cut some things, hoping to propagate them. This, with the wilted blue, purple flowers, is a jacaranda. They grow into beautiful shrubs with giant purple, really vivid blooms. So they're in there with some rooting hormone, hoping that they will start. There's some things in here that they look like might be a fail, but we'll see. I'm not quite doing this the way I had intended to originally, but whatever. I did give the hydrangea a bit of a trim to get it to fill out and not be too gangly of a bush. So I'm going to try to propagate this stem and this stem the way that I've learned how. So the way that I do it is I'm going to trim right above this notch here and right above this notch here. And then I will dip the stem, the freshly cut stem, into some rooting compound. Pop them into these little cups with drainage holes cut in them and some good composting soil. And then they'll go into here. And what I really need to do is trim these jacarandas down a bit so that I can put the lid on this container. I'll take this out and do it sort of like a little incubator. So that's my intention. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll show you the poor hydrangea. Got a haircut, but it did also get permanently planted in the ground because it was so root bound in the container, and my emotional flip-flopping on whether or not to put Ollie in with the hydrangea needed to come to an end. So I planted the hydrangea, gave it a haircut so it'll fill out, and we're going to see if we can propagate for a couple more hydrangeas. And Susie, are you my gardening companion? She's following me everywhere. Nothing to say? Nope. I'll be with you, but we're not going to talk. Are you camera shy? Yeah, a little bit. No? Oh, bonk. That's a little frog. I took all the plants out of here, emptied the water, and this guy tried to make a run for it. Don't worry, buddy. You're okay. He can live here if he wants. He won't hurt the plants. Boy, he's so tiny. He's a little baby. I think, so I look for a size comparison. There's my finger. Less than a fingernail. We usually see him about twice that size. It's a cookie. Cute little guy. Alright, so I did a little more by the book here. I gave the jacarandas a dramatic haircut. I trimmed off some good prospects, dipped them in the hormone stuff, and put them in cups. So now they're low. These two are the hydrangeas, and then these three are jacarandas. These four, there's two different things going on. There's this yellow flowering bush that I have no idea what it's called, that I like. That's what these two are. And then over here, this is like a morning glory, except they're purple, but it's a vine that I'd like to have grow. And they're beautiful, of course. The jacarandas that I had, they're not dead, even though they have not had a good week as far as, they got cut. But they're doing okay. So I took what I had left, dipped it in some rooting hormone compound, and put them in pots. We'll see. Maybe they'll grow anyway. But they won't be in the little makeshift greenhouse here. So these are going to get a lid put on them and then go in the sunshine. The lid in the box will protect them from rain and wind. There's still a little frog in there. I don't want to really scare him off. Can you see him? I don't want to really scare him off because he's adorable and I like the cookies. But I don't want to trap him in here either. Oh, there. Yeah, you can see him. Come on, little guy. Anyway, so I'll leave it open for a little while. Hopefully I can get him to go out. And then later I gotta put the lid on it so these things don't dry out. Anyway, so the little greenhouse has been created. These are just going to live outside. We'll see if they make it. Our zucchini is growing over here. And we've got some zucchini flowers coming. So we'll see. That one had some kind of fungus as well, and it's doing well now. Much better now, actually, since it got sprayed with that antifungal. So now maybe it'll actually do something. I honestly don't remember what that is. It's an herb. I'm not sure what. Our little citrus trees, they didn't look like they were doing too good because they had a whole lot of this kind of thing going on. But now they're starting to do a little better. So that one's our smallest. This one over here actually has some new growth going on, which makes me happy. Because yeah, it had some not happy looking leaves for a while too. So that's looking better. Some more new growth over here. And then this one is doing quite well. It's filled out quite a lot on the top. But they're starting to get, I think, cold at night. A little bit. Which won't hurt them long term, but I don't know how they'll do over the winter. We'll see. We don't get super cold, no frost, but we do get chilly nights. Not into the 40s. So we'll see. Parsley is doing phenomenal. The cilantro, not so much. I gotta figure out how to make that one happier. It's doing a little better. I think it likes the tomato fertilizer. But normally when I've grown cilantro, if I hack on it to use it to cook, it usually just fills back in like the parsley has. But this one, I cut it and it just seems to stay cut. So we'll see. The rosemary's doing good. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm gonna go work some more. He's free! Can you see him? Yeah. I lifted one of the cups out and he clung to the side. And when I set the cup out here, he jumped onto this little towel that I've been using to wash my hands. So now he's okay. I can put the lid on and contain these little guys without trapping the poor little frog. I don't know, I'm worried about one little frog. I know we have thousands of them. But he's awful cute. Little tiny guy. So over here you can see this poor hydrangea has had an extremely aggressive haircut. But all the nasty stuff pretty much has been trimmed away. This is all some bright green healthy growth. All of these have been cut in a way that it should in theory inspire him to bush up. He's also no longer in a pot, which should make him much happier. I should give him some tomato fertilizer to give him some encouragement. They've all had a bit of a trim of some more of that sort of fungusy looking, not as healthy growth like that guy. They seem to, everything here, if you cut it back, it will just double its efforts, it seems. So here's hoping that that is the case with this sweet little hydrangea bush here. Because I would love to have, it's the time of year that you trim back a hydrangea. They like to be cut out in the fall. So, although it doesn't look like fall here, it's a gorgeous day. It is fall, as seen by these tall yellow grasses. And we had some really lovely, cool evenings and had an epic thunderstorm last night. It was pretty intense. It's great. But the storm's gone. Beautiful day. It's been beautiful all day, every day, all week. I'll take it. So hopefully that little hydrangea likes it too. Okay, here we are. I have reconfigured the trail a bit. The path, I should say. This side stayed essentially in the same place that it was. But it was widening up and going that direction on that side and that. There's no need to have that big of a play just for ducks. It'd be like a huge path that was the entire width of the duck house, because I thought that would just look funny. I've moved in the path to a tighter line, not so wide at the end there. Open to the whole little duck house. It's more of a scaled size. I've taken out most of the biggest, lumpiest things from walking in the path, and I've put them in there. You can see quite a bit of rock in there to try to help fill that in. Eventually that will get soil. The next step will be, I've measured, see if I can walk here. I've measured the size of the duck house. So it's going to be a 4x8 structure with a little under 5 foot height on here. This side is going up with a shed roof to slightly over 5 feet tall on that side. That'll have an opening, just an opening for them. No door, no movable door on this side. But here on this side will be a wall, and of course solid walls all the way around. Our prevailing wind and rain comes from that direction in this way, so I want to make sure I have a good solid wall to protect them from that over there. So that'll be a solid wall where the shovel handle is, and then it will be set just inside the perimeter of the rock wall. It'll be, as I mentioned, cinder block pavers, cement pavers on the floor. The walls will be just a couple inches up off the pavers so that I can hose it out. Okay, so what I've got here is a little bit of stuff dug out for the duck house, but there's not much soil there. It's just a hair bit of soil on top of the rock. And so now I think I'm just going to, I took what I could of soil with the shovel off and put it over there. But I think I pulled a bunch of rocks out to level it out. I'm going to get it as level as I can and cover it in that bagged gravel that we like, that we use when we're doing the foundations on the deck and under the power shed and the water shed. Because that works pretty nice. It'll give it a good, nice, stable base for those pavers to sit on, and also add to the drainage. So as much as I got as much soil out as I could. Everything that this is on, this whole area, this whole duckyard, in fact, has rock that Hawaiian collected and filled in this hole sort of to elevate this little yard. So it's going to have good drainage. So with that, the rock that's under that bit of dirt, mostly it's rock, and then some gravel on top, hosing off those pavers, any water that goes in between them will be fine, and then any water, of course, that goes to the back will drain easily. And so that's the idea. So I think that's fine for that, but it did not give me enough soil to fill the gap that I created when I made the trail narrower. But you can see that it is mostly filled. And then I've added some soil here too. And that's because I dug a trench to feed the pond. So this is going to act as a bit like a little creek. It's not done, obviously. But if you can imagine, there's a little house here with a little roof, and it's going to drain with the gutter into a barrel, the water barrel. And the water barrel will serve as a water supply to give the ducks fresh water. But it will overflow as our catchment does. So the overflow from that will go out of the barrel. We'll just let the barrel overflow. The barrel will be placed here, and this has been dug out, and I'm going to line it with plastic in a minute. This has been dug out, and it will drain like a little creek into the pond and feed the pond, which has always been the plan. But it wasn't properly dug out so that it would actually, the gravity would work the way you wanted it to. And then also, it was far too porous. Any water that went in here would just go into the ground. It wouldn't ever make it to the pond. And so it needed some gravity, and it needs a liner to make it. So this is just more liner that I cut off from this. So I've dug it out, I lined it, tested it, and I've perfected the gravity a little bit. And now I'm going to have to cut this a bit. So I'm going to lay that out, trim off the excess, and start putting the rock around it again. And I think it'll actually be alright to feed. It's got a good overlap here so that it'll actually drain the way you expect into the pond. I think it'll be alright. And, again, we provided adequate soil, at least for now, to sort of fill in the gap that I created over there. It's not great. I have not perfected this in any way. I literally just shoveled it off in that direction when I was digging. So I have to come back over here and sort of smooth it out, put it where it needs to be. And we do plan on getting another load of that compost soil to sort of top this whole thing off before I plant actual grasses and like real stuff, because this is just a weed layer, as you can see, and it's still far too rocky for healthy grass. So it needs real soil at a reasonable depth. Here comes kitty cat. What are you doing? She's been following me around. She doesn't come over here when I got the shovel going because she doesn't like that shovel. But she'll hang out when it's just us doing stuff. What are you going to do? Don't go into there. Psst. She's so silly. She's got to look into everything. Our little entertainer. What are you doing, sausage? So pretty, shiny in the sun. Sausage. Do you think that's wise? I don't think that's wise. No? Okay. Oh, you like the shovel when it's not in use? What are you doing? Oh, I scared her off. See you later, sausage. Okay, here we are. You can see the shadow from the house. And the house is a long way away. And I am not nearly that far or that tall. Or, like, that didn't make any sense at all. I'm bushed. That shadow is a long way away from me. So what I'm trying to say is late in the day, long shadows. So progress report. We've got our pathway here has been narrowed and kind of smoothed out a bit so it's not such a tripping hazard. The gap I created has some soil and rock to fill it, although I have not yet bothered to refine that fill. It's pretty rough. That's okay. We'll get to that. We've got some flow pulled off of the area where the duck house will eventually go. There. I have not leveled that either. But the biggest job has been digging this drainage trench into the pond, lining it with black liner, and then covering said liner with all of this rock. It's going to be awesome when it's working. So the water will come in here and then trickle through this rock all the way into there. And the idea of all this rock is that trench is deep enough that it can have a little rock on top of the plastic, because it's not meant to hold water, it's meant to direct water. And I think that'll do just fine as far as depth and width. It should handle a reasonable volume of water coming out of the barrel. Even if it was just gushing, overflowing, it'll be all right. There's some rock here, a little bit deeper rock here, to sort of lessen the impact of the overflow, so it doesn't hopefully spray out too much. It should stay relatively in there, and then trickle down through the rocks all the way to the pond. The reason I'm so bushed would be these rocks. They're not done. There's still spots where you can see plastic here and there. It's just a real thin layer of rocks, and I'm sure the first really intense rain might shift them around. But my intention is that I'll get some pea gravel or something and kind of scatter that in there too to hold them in place. They're really just for aesthetics, and hopefully we'll give it a bit of a little trickle sound as the water comes in. The rocks will also not generate heat as much as black plastic. Exposed black plastic creates a lot of heat. And it's a bit of a habitat for frogs, and I might put some water plants in there, in between the rocks here and there, because that'd be awful pretty. But down here, the rocks, the plastic is overlapped from the pond coming up, and then from the little creek, I guess, coming down. There's an overlap. So the pond comes up and over and then down and then up. And then the waterfall comes over that, down and then up and then into the pond. So hopefully that will prevent too much backflow, because I don't want the pond to drain. I want it to, like, too soon, too low. I don't want it to be so low that it drains early. I want it to drain out there. So I wanted to bring the pond level up at least as high as that overflow over there. And I think I've done that. And then there's a heavier layer of rock here to sort of act like a biofilter for anything that might be dragging through here. But I don't know really if that's going to be of any use. I've heard research about how to do ponds and waterfalls and things in your yards, and this is still just me winging it. So, but it should the rock should prevent any heavy standing water being exposed for mosquitoes that might want to lay their eggs, because they are laying their eggs in this pond. Already the dragonflies have been eating them up. Thankfully, we don't have very many mosquitoes. Look who's back. Come to check my work. What have you done? We don't have too many mosquitoes, really. The pond's not that big. And the idea is, though, that once the house is built, this little thing will get the runoff from the little house roof, fill the pond, and then the pond will overflow to there. So there won't be too much long-term stagnant water at the top, in theory. So it should keep our mosquito, little vulture volume down. But yeah, I'm not unhappy with how this turned out. I mean, it's not attractive yet, but I think it has a lot of potential. And the ducks will be able to walk on the rock, which is another big deal, is because they need to have good ease of access to get into the pond. And this will give them a nice gradual descent in and ascent out. They're going to have a couple of ledges here and over there that will also help them get in and out really easily. Obviously still have more rock work to do, but those little guys with their webbed feet, they got to have nice flat surfaces or else they can't get in and out. They're not good at that stuff. So they are going to have probably one of the fanciest little duck yards around. I think I like it, though. This area is a lot larger than I originally intended for the rock, so I'll probably put some kind of plant in there, make it look a little less like a giant rock bay, a bit like a quarry. But anyway, that's enough. Plenty of work. Look how nice the tea leaves are doing. They like the pond. This gets a little deeper, though. And this guy I probably have to get raised up a hair, because they're down in it. Anyway, I do also plan on getting something called duckweed, which is a lovely little, almost like a clovery kind of leaf-ish. I don't know how to describe it. But they've got the cutest little round leaves, very dense, and it floats along. All the leaves float along the top of the water, and the ducks love to eat them, and they're good for the ducks. And they also cut down on surface area available for the mosquitoes. What are you doing over here, little girl? This is not a litter box. There she goes. There's nothing I can do to control that. I've just given the kitties some freshly dug dirt. So whatever. They'll fertilize. There's no preventing it. What are you doing, silly girl? Want to say bye to everybody? We're all done. Okay, bye.